Hi, I'm Dr. Taylor here interviewing Steven Verplancken. Steven is a basketball player. He was Division One, NCAA Division One player. He was on the All Missouri Valley Academic Conference team. You were All Conference Big Sky. You were invited to Damian Lillard's Formula Zero camp. You are on the Dominican Republic men's team now, and you are also on the Dominican Republic youth team. You got the Rookie of the Year this past season, and you also were on the Dominican Republic top 5 All-Stars. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Of course. I always love chatting with you. Okay, so first we're going to ask you some of your background questions, but later on we'll get a little bit into your mind-body medicine experience. For those of you who don't know what mind-body medicine is, it is the science of mindfulness techniques like breath work, meditation, and all of that can show people how to increase performance, relax more, whatever thing you need, recovery. It helps with that for anyone who doesn't know. All right, and we're going to talk a little bit later about your meditation or heart rate variability. Okay, cool. So before we get there, I know you had a very unique childhood and kind of upbringing. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I was born in the Dominican Republic. My dad is from Belgium. My mom is Dominican. They met over there while my dad was working. I lived there till I was 9 years old. And then at 9, we moved to Belgium. Just better education, better country. My dad's job had allowed him to do that since they're based in Europe. And then from 9 to 16, I played a bunch of different sports, but kind of just stuck with basketball. From the jump, I kind of knew it was going to be basketball. And then at 16, I got recruited to go play at a prep school in Tays Valley, West Virginia, a really small town, right outside of Charleston. And then from there, got recruited, got a scholarship at a Division II school, and then transferred up to Southern Illinois University, which is a Division I school. Spent 2 years there, and then did another 2 years at Weber State to finish out my college career. And now I'm 7 months into my pro career, and it's definitely been an experience, not as planned, but it's kind of worked out for the better. Played in the Dominican this summer, did a bunch of traveling, got to train with a bunch of NBA pros this summer. And right now I'm in season in Iceland playing professionally over here.
Nice. Okay, tell me, as far as your childhood and your experience in both Dominican Republic and in Belgium, how has tell me more details about that, whether basketball related or not, and kind of how that's influenced you as an adult.
Well, I think sports wasn't really in the picture, I would say, in the Dominican, because I played some soccer in the Dominican, and you got to think this is back in 08, 07. It's like soccer wasn't a thing there. Back then, the Dominican was just pure baseball players. So, and I didn't really pick up baseball, but I was playing soccer, and I was more of just like, I was kind of just chilling, enjoying life. We lived by the beach, 2 minutes from the beach. I'll go play in the water, with my kayak, go snorkel, because my dad worked for a diving company. I'll be on an excursion on the banana boats. Like, it was kind of like that. And then the other side was like my mom's family was there, and they still lived in a really small town, third world country, small town, like no running water sometimes, electricity goes sometimes. But it's all like good memories. And sports didn't really come in the picture. It was just, I was numb to it, I was just living. Then when we moved to Belgium, my dad wrote me in a bunch of sports. I think basketball, karate, tennis, swimming. I might have did something else. Piano. It's not even a sport, but piano. He wrote me into that. And then I got to like find a love at like, how do I become good at something? Like I've always had like and everything I do, I want to be like good. Like I want to be the best in a sense. And I just kind of ran with basketball. I kind of got introduced to it. And for some reason, I feel like God always just put the right people in my path, and I had good guidance from my dad and my mom. And that's kind of how, like, I guess life in Belgium was more about sports at that point. Like I remember 2 practices a day, 2 games on the weekends, travel from one side from Belgium to the other side because my dad wanted me to move teams because it was a better opportunity for me. And at the time, I was just like, I kind of just kept working out. And life in Belgium, I met some of my best friends, but it was also hard because I was in a minority in a sense. I'm a light skinned guy. Very many of my
Yeah.
type, especially on the basketball teams, and they see you kind of a little bit different. But I always learned to embrace that. And then I saw a lot of adversity early in my career, and I think that's why I am who I am. I've made it this far. Just navigating adversity as a young kid without always having the answers. It's once you learn to survive, I feel like that's a skill you keep forever, and that's kind of what's that was kind of I would describe my time growing up in Belgium, the Dominican.
Can you tell me a little more about, do you mean adversity like when you were young, seeing things or experiencing traumatic things, or you mean in your basketball career?
I'd say like both, like adversity in the sense of like they never really wanted me to make it. It was always set up for me not to make it. Of like this team, I'm better than this player, but they're not gonna play me because they want to play him because different politics. So then I had to figure out how do I find my best opportunity. At the time, it was like, oh, we're gonna go play for the neighboring team. I had to take a train to school at 6 in the morning, 15 minutes there, practice in the morning, stay at night, practice again at the neighboring team's gym, and then I wouldn't get home till like 11. Some days taking the train back, and then that didn't work out the way it's supposed to go. And for example, my parents didn't have a car at the time. My dad was like, "Well, the next move is going to play in this other teams in this other town, an hour away from where we lived, with the train and with the car." And we didn't have a car. My dad was like, "Well, we're just gonna buy a car. It's gonna be worth the investment." And I would go to school, 50 minutes with the train to school, practice in the morning, go to school, take an hour train after school, walk for 30 minutes and the back aisles to get to the gym, and then practice for another hour and a half. My dad would come pick me up with the car when he was in Belgium. I would eat in the car. I would study in the car, do my homework in the car, get home, go to bed, and do it all over again. And then there was days like where my dad wasn't able to pick me up, and then I had to ride the train back another hour to get home at 12. So I feel like it was never in my favor to make it work out. But I think with my support staff and the people I've had around me, it's kind of just I've been blessed to make it this far and always find a different way to succeed.
Wow, that's awesome. Even I didn't know that much. That's really cool. Okay. So going back to the Dominican Republic and your time in Belgium, just your childhood in general, did you feel like in DR or Belgium that you kind of knew about a mind body medicine, like connection, like even spending a lot of time in the ocean, that sort of thing? Or were you always just straight, like not doing meditations, not thinking that's important?
Honestly, I didn't think that was important. I didn't think it was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, well, I didn't think it was a thing. Like, I didn't know nothing about meditation, mind, body. But now when I think about it, though, it's a way of life. Because when you are in the Dominican, you're in the ocean, the palm trees, the weather, the sun, really close to nature. It makes you feel a certain type of way. But in Belgium, it's more a darker climate, a lot of rain, not a lot of light. You're around buildings all the time. There's not necessarily nature to escape. I do feel like in those times I was more anxious or my body would feel different ways than even when I am in the Dominican. Like till this day, when I'm in the Dominican, I arrive on the plane, I get in the car from the airport. I'm like, I'm chilling. Like it's cool. Like I'm chilling. Like it's so the way of life is so different. Like I feel like Belgium is very uptight, and the Dominican it's like the most relaxed thing ever. And I think that does have to do with your environment.
Yeah. Do you feel like there are things you did naturally that could have kind of been like a mind, but like, did your body crave certain things that you're like, okay, before you started working on mind body medicine?
I don't know if I don't know if you could count this as mind body medicine, but I feel like I always knew I was gonna make it, and I do things to make it. Like I would act a certain way. Like I always try to mimic the way my idols acted. That way, like I would surround myself with the things that I wanted to be. Like for example, I had a bedroom, and I just started writing a bunch of quotes on the wall because I wanted my mind to see it. Like when it was hard and there was like adversity moment. If I'm waking up and I read a quote of like, for example, just keep going, like you're gonna make it. Or I read this and it's like, at the end of the day, your body's gonna believe what you see, what you tell yourself. And I feel like now thinking about it, that could have been like an early sign of that.
Yeah, that's
And
true. Your body listens to every single thing you say, and actually, your physical body makes adjustments based on that. So,
yeah, and I feel like I was never afraid to I was never afraid to like tell people like, oh, when I am in Division 1 basketball player, when I go to America, when I make it here, when I make it there. And in hindsight, back then I didn't know what I was doing, but like now knowing that through you, now knowing what it actually does for you, it's kind of crazy.
yeah, it's really incredible what our bodies can do. Like you and I've already even talked about what you watch is can make you better at that task. Like your mirror neurons can help you improve just by watching. So it makes sense that you would improve with looking at things and inspiring yourself and all of that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Do you think all of that has helped with resilience?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's actually a proven study. I read it in a book called Grit. It's like when you push through like the hard things, it's just easier for you to make it through harder situations. It's
Yeah.
just like your body's used to it. It's like there's no like I'm not gonna do this. There's gonna be like it's, we're gonna find a way to do it.
Yeah.
I actually noticed that honestly, ironically, in my short time in my pro career, I've noticed why certain guys are in certain spots. And I noticed some guys leave teams early. Some guys change teams a lot. And I think that's part of that thing of like, if you know you can make it, if you know you have made it through tough situations, why are you going to run from it? You know?
Yeah.
But once you let your mind believe that it's okay to run from it, then it's always going to look for the easy way out. Oh, let's just run from it. If that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you've been through a lot. And even since we've been working together, there's a few situations where you're like, oh my God. And I'm like, hey, you're going to be so good in the future. And you're really good at working through it and like finding a way to do it.
I appreciate that. You give me all the tools for it. So
Well, I give suggestions and you're the one that does the work. So I guess it's teamwork. Okay.
yeah.
What do you think is kind of in your short professional career, the most kind of pivotal changes that you've made?
Definitely the HRV meditation you introduced me to. Because ironically, what I mean by like, God has always given me like those golden nuggets and put the people along the way. It's like I had just come off like my senior season and it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. For some people, they would think it was a good season, but for me, I felt like it's not what I wanted it to be. And I had really some of my lowest lows in basketball and life. And I'm training at the rec center. And this lady, I'm training at the rec center. This
You make
lady,
me sound crazy.
yeah, this lady just running laps. Oh, hey, I'm a mind body doctor. I'm like, mind body doctor. And
Yeah.
then I'm doing a study with meditation, like let's exchange infos. What are the odds of that happening if you really think about it? Or me
Yeah.
in that place and you in that place, and I'm the one shooting that needed what you have to offer in a sense. And I think for me and you that way, like it showed God was like, I know you had a tough period, but the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
It's yet to come. Like I'm putting you through this for a reason. And you introduced me to the HRV meditation, and I feel like my anxiousness at times has just disappeared. Like I have days, don't get me wrong, I feel like anxiety is always going to be there, but I have days or weeks that I don't feel it. And when it comes up, I know how to combat it. But also, just knowing how it affects you. For example, like the HRV meditations, it's proven to you. I have the aura ring, and it was funny. Like 2 weeks ago, we were talking about it. I felt super anxious for the first time in a while. I felt really insecure. I was having no. I was like, I felt like I was going back to last year, and I was like, man, like I hate this. But then I look at my like things that I was doing. I wasn't meditating, not sleeping right. I wasn't spending enough time with myself and the mind body stuff. And in my ring, it like literally noticed it. Like it went from low recovery, high stress, and I started meditating. I started doing the things we talked about consistently. And all of a sudden, I'm in a high recovery or low stress mode. And I'm like, it's no wonder then I'm playing good. It's no wonder then I feel relieved. I don't feel anxious. So,
Yeah. It's so crazy. And for anyone that doesn't know what HRV is, heart rate variability, which is a huge determiner of performance and, as Steven mentioned, mood, resilience, all of that. So it's really cool, but it only took you like a few days, right? Before your heart rate variability got better and you're like, oh,
yeah, it was
yeah,
literally like every day the dot will keep going up to like high recovery, low stress. So, I
yeah,
mean, I think really honing down on the HRV and realizing that even in the toughest moments in games where you don't think you have it in you, or just taking those few seconds about those positive energies, like what you teach me, like think about someone you love, something you love, loving on yourself. It seem like it's not gonna work at the heat of the moment, but I feel like for me to always deliver, really to always deliver since I've had the tools.
good. I'm so happy to hear that. And just to fill in anyone who's watching, meditation or the loving kindness, the one you're talking about, is shown to increase heart rate variability by a lot. And also, it's about how you do it is you think about someone you love a lot while focusing on your heart, and then turn that love onto yourself and just sustain that for as long as possible. And so
Research. Yeah.
it's really incredible, huh?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like I feel like still so many people are like not knowing of it. Like they don't know it exists. They don't know this like the actual science behind it.
Yeah.
It's like such a I think it's such a new thing to athletes, at least from
Yeah.
I've talked to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very, I think, so it was discovered heart rate variability in 1995, I believe. That's from what I know. So it's really interesting. And honestly, though, the cool thing about you, Steven, is that you do the work, right? Because there's other athletes I have taught that just are like, nah, I don't think so. So they don't really see a difference, but you do the work. So I have to give you credit for that.
No, I appreciate you. I just think it truly helps. I think the older I get, I think the older I get in my basketball career, or my professional career and life in general, I realize it's not as much about the physical aspects of like, don't get me wrong, you got to train, you got to do all that, but it gets to a point where like it's also about the mental that really needs to be unlocked and developed to allow you to go to those places, to allow you to experience the things you want to experience.
Yeah. And what do you think? I remember when you were playing Dominican, you were saying like it was one of the first times you've been able to get like back into flow and out of your head. Um, is that
Yeah,
right? My
yeah. The summer of my first pro experience was tough because I came late to the team, and I was like a nobody. I was kind of like thrown in the fire a lot, and sometimes that was good, sometimes that wasn't good. But I got to figure out a way where like I wasn't playing as many minutes. I was spending more time on the bench than I usually would. I figured out a way to like do the HRV on the bench and stay like keep my energy the right way, depending regardless of how the game goes. So when I come in, I can make the impact I want to make. And I think that was the first time that I feel like I could control my outcome of like I know I'm gonna have this performance. I just gotta keep myself in the same in this wavelength till I get the chance to go on the court, you know. So that was like really good because like normally as athletes, flow comes from doing things in the games, scoring, defense, making a high play. But when you're on the bench, it's you get cold physically. There's some you hear people around you talk. So how can you maintain that flow state or an optimal state where you come in and you can make the impact? So I think that's the first time I really felt that it was possible for me. In the
Yeah.
past, it was just kind of trial and error of like, oh, you going if you don't play a lot, you're gonna either come in or you're not gonna play better, you're gonna play good. It's gonna be one
Yeah.
of the two. I didn't feel like I had necessarily a control over the way I felt about my flow or my mental state.
Yeah. Really, our heart is in control of our mood and not the opposite way. So, you were talking about focusing more on the heart and things like that versus mentality. I mean, they're obviously closely related, but can you tell me a little about that shift when you did more of the meditation, the loving kindness meta meditation, and what kind of changes you saw from that transition,
That's
if
tough.
any?
That, I think something that always stuck with me is get in your body. Like you always said in the beginning when we would do the courses and the meditations, and you'd ask me how I feel. You always say, get in your body. And at first I didn't get it. Like get in your body. I'm like, I'm in my body. Like,
Yeah.
and I think it's really true when like I feel like I wasn't you gotta like recently again it kind of made sense what you said. It clicked to me 2 days ago actually.
Yeah.
Because you always say get in your body and I always was like, okay, tell myself the right things, this and that. Sometimes you gotta realize that the brain is just like your hand. It's like I control it.
Yeah.
It doesn't control me. And when I felt like those anxious rush moments, I gotta remind myself I control you.
Mhm.
Like I need to get in my body. I need to see how I'm feeling. And it was ironically yesterday we had a big game and I was feeling like really good all day. And then right before leaving to the game, stuff I feeling a little off, a little anxious, like up and down mood. And your mind starts racing about stuff. And I was just telling myself while the drop, get in your body. And I was breathing through it, breathing through it. And all of a sudden, I feel myself that I got to the point where I'm feeling good again, and I'm feeling good again, and I'm in control of my destination in a sense. My mind, my bad thoughts aren't in control of my destination. So I mean, that's kind of, I guess, yeah, how I would answer that.
Yeah. That's really cool. Okay. So in high school, sorry, or college or anything like that, did any of like your idols or anything meditate or, before you met me, were you like, hey, interested at all or kind of like, I might need to explore this or just, I was the first time.
I knew it was out there. I knew it was out there that some of the players I looked up did it, especially like Kobe. But I really didn't try it till my freshman year of college. Towards the end of my freshman year, I remember I would just try to sit in a dark room for 5 minutes and just sit there and not think
Mhm.
about anything or like focus on my breath. And I thought that was meditating at the time. And
Yeah.
then, ironically, I was seeing a sports psychologist. She was amazing, and she
Yeah. She's
tried
great.
to introduce me more to the meditation stuff. But it was more of the Calm app, the Headspace app, where it's a meditation of like they guide you through it, and it made me. I feel like yeah, it relieved the way I was feeling. If I was feeling stressed, anxious, sad, whatever, but I never really felt an effect like I do with the HRV on the court. Like it
Mhm.
was just kind of like a patch, like a quick fix in a sense. But I didn't feel like it enhanced my focus. I didn't feel like it enhanced my performances like as much. So like till I didn't really actually know what like real meditation was like. Really sitting there for 30 minutes without nothing. It's a long time.
Yeah.
Like
I
now
feel that.
now I do it like every day for 25, 30 minutes. And it
Yeah.
feels like fine, like it's not long no more. But
Yeah.
when you used to tell me I need you to do 30 minutes every day, I'm like, this girl crazy. Like 30 minutes, like this, that's a lot of time I could be doing other stuff, but
Yeah.
I can see the difference.
Yeah, for sure. It ends up being, I think once you get into it and see the effects, yeah. And we talked a lot about allowing too. And I think that meditation is more, I'm going to allow my body to be in its natural state and recover and all of that. And yeah. Do you, I want you to tell me or tell, anyone else who's maybe struggling with the idea of meditation. Can you talk a little bit about how it can be difficult sometimes? I don't want people to think, oh, I sit down and my brain is clear at the end and it's been bliss ever since. But we talk about doing the work, right? You also do things like breath work, and we do some guided meditations before the game. Like here and there, we do other things. But can you talk about kind of breaking through the difficult times as far as specifically like the meditations and things like that?
Yeah, so I think honestly, since end of November, December, I've been having a hard time of like once you first start doing the meditation, especially the HRV, you feel like you're on this wavelength. It's a really good feeling, and I got used to that. And then for this period of time, I feel like I haven't felt it. Like I haven't felt it. Like I was chasing it. My thoughts were going. I was like, what's happening? Like this doesn't feel good. This doesn't and that's like when I told you about it, and you were like, sometimes you gotta allow it. And there's gonna be periods I still had it last week. Like I sit there 25 minutes. Half the time you try to combat your thoughts a little bit. Half the time you be like allowing it, and then half the time you try to think about the positive things. But I think that's the most important part for me so far is don't be attached, be process oriented instead of result. Because I feel like I was so attached to the result of the feeling good, the being on that wavelength. Where when I wasn't getting it, I was like, why am I gonna keep doing this? But it's just as important to do it when I'm not getting it, because that's gonna allow me to feel how the way I was feeling again. So I
It's
mean,
more important, I would say, even more
yeah.
important when it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, it's been a challenge. Like honestly, frustrating month of December, meditating and a little bit of January, but after giving me so many good results, are you gonna stop doing it? Because it's still
Yeah.
working, you're just working in a different way.
Well, and it's like a doubling down. Like, this is really hard. It's just like training on the court, right? This is really hard, but if I can get through this, it's going to be even better on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can compare it to a shooting slump. Like when you're not shooting well, of course, it's an uncomfortable feeling and you hate it, and you're in your feelings and head about it. But you got to get through it, and it won't last forever. But when you get through it, you at the end of it, you're gonna be better. So it's kind of
Yeah.
I just related to a shooting slump, really.
Yeah. And when you say get in your body, going back to that, do you still have thoughts, or are you like, okay, the thoughts, like you said, don't control me? Do you feel like there are times where you're in that meditation, you can turn off your thoughts and that reflects kind of being in a flow state during the game? Or if I'm totally off, you tell
No,
me.
for sure. Honestly, I experienced it yesterday in the game. My first 5 minutes of the game was rough. Missed two shots, had a turnover. Team started down 17-6. And I was just on the bench, and I was just telling myself, get in your body, because my mind was like, oh, we going to get this, that, your mind going to start going all over the place. And
Yeah.
I was just telling myself, get in your body. And I really just focused on breathing and just allowing it to happen. I'm like, this just happened this just happened. But I allowed that. I can't fight the missed shot anymore. I can't fight the turnover anymore. It happened. And ironically, I went on a killing spree. I killed the rest of the half. And it was just because I allowed, like you said, you get in your body is when you focus on your body, I feel like my mind just turns off, because in a sense I'm not paying attention to it anymore. It knows I'm not listening to the thoughts, because I'm just really focused on and my body, the way my feet feel, my shoe feel, the way the ball feels, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. It's just a weird feeling to explain.
Yeah. It's weird but good, right? In the good
Yeah,
way.
yeah, in a
Yeah.
good way. And I feel like also it's a never ending like process. I keep learning. Like for example, when you said like, and my body, like you've been telling me get in your body for the last 6 months, and I feel like 2 days ago is really when I started getting in my body. So it's like
Yeah.
it's a never ending process of improvement and knowing what works and what to use when and knowing yourself really. I think so.
Yeah. I like that. And for anyone listening, do you want to just mention a few of the other mind body medicine things you do? We're going to talk a little bit more about the HRV meditation, but if you want to just mention what other kind of things you do,
Yeah.
just
So we
mind
do
body medicine.
HRV. Then we do breath work of like DMT, alkaline bleeding. And I
Mhm.
do it before my meditation in the morning. And it kind of just gets me up. Because sometimes when you like do meditation, and especially on like the long days, you feel tired, you want to doze off. This kind of gets me to go up, like gets my
Yeah.
senses to go up. My I don't know, yeah, my senses just get elevated, so I get a better focus in a sense. I don't remember the name of this last one you sent me, but I feel like I was starting games off slow, and we started doing this breath where like it'll give me, it's a different type of rhythm, but it'll get me to go increase my blood flow, my oxygen. So like I feel alert, and actually it's worked out for me really well the last two games. Um,
Good.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
And oh, go ahead.
we've done that, and man, I feel like a lot, like from journaling, writing certain things, like the why stuff, why this, why that, when you gotta empty your mind. I feel
The
like I go
gratitude, do gratitude journaling too.
yeah, gratitude journaling. I just feel like we just keep adding things where needed. I feel like you just give me the tools that I'm able to. I have all the tools, so when the situation comes up, I know where to find my answers at. And I feel like before I didn't necessarily have the tools. Like I was just kind of trial and error. Oh, run into this door. Does this door open? No.
Yeah.
Does this door open? But
Yeah.
also, I didn't know it was scientifically proven that it would work too.
Yeah. And that's the medicine part of mind body medicine is taking the science and figuring it out. Like, I think a lot of people don't know that there are like not all breath works do the same thing, right? Because you needed a breath work so you would be ready at the beginning of the game. So I gave you like a stimulating one.
Yeah.
And then someone might be like, I think there were times when you were anxious before the game, right? So we brought you a different one. And
Yeah. There was.
and that's the
Yeah.
science too about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I feel like there was times where I was so anxious and worked up before the games that it would be bad. Like, how do I bring myself down? And now I feel like I'm in such a good confident state where like I'm maybe too relaxed before games, and then I gotta find a way to get myself up. But it's just a constant battle because I mean, honestly, it's just a constant battle of like your environment, the way you're at, the way you're playing. As nobody really has the perfect answer for it, but you just gotta keep finding solutions for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we try a lot of solutions with you and you do the work. And, in the end, you yourself know your body well enough to settle into what works and what doesn't. And I think that's a huge part of mind body meditation is instead of me telling you, every time, like, this is how you have to do it, it's more like, okay, you're so good now about being in your body because the HRV, that meditation is the base of everything, really, because you
Yeah.
need to know what feels right in your own body. And so I think, and you can tell me whether you agree with this or not, but that being in your body helps you to be the person that can tell yourself, this is what I need.
Yeah.
And you're not relying on me to tell you, you can kind of, is that something you feel like, or?
Yeah, a little bit. Because like the other day, I did the HRV meditation, but more of like feeling what felt wrong in a sense. Like, how you got to determine the factors that set you off differently in a bad way. So I was going through like things that were bothering me, And I was like, okay, this thing makes my body feel this way. And then this makes my body feel this way. So I know my triggers. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that kind of answered the question because like I know my triggers, so I
Yeah.
know when this happens in a game or this happens in life. I know why it's happening. Like I don't know. I don't like just get frustrated with it
Yeah.
because I already knew pre why. Like oh, I know if this happens in the game, I'm gonna feel frustrated, feel a little anxious. This thought is gonna come up, but like I can just combat that with good things.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause we practice a lot allowing yourself to be frustrated,
Yeah.
even in meditation. And then, which I don't recommend all the time, right? To like intentionally, but you know that. But then do you feel like it's easier, gets easier and easier to bring yourself, to let those things go and bring yourself back
Yeah.
after? Okay.
Yeah, and then now that you say it, like those things were like allowing yourself to be frustrated. I think the summer I was going through a really hard time, and you were like, allow yourself to be sad, or allow yourself to feel this way, and I just no one had ever like taught me to think about it this way. Because when you feel sad or when you feel like you're in a bad spot, you want to just fight out of it. Everything you're trying to do every day is how can I get this feeling to be gone, right? Like how can I
Yeah.
stop feeling this way? And like when you told me like allow yourself to be sad, just give yourself a couple hours. I think that made me feel better because then you go on like just be sad about it or whatever, and next day you're probably not gonna feel sad about it because you already done. You're over it. You've allowed yourself to feel that way instead of you fight it. You fight it. I feel like once you fight it, it's gonna stay longer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's crazy now, again, like the science. Like, for example, if you cry, it actually reduces stress hormones and things like makes you feel better. And so, and I always thought it was silly people being like, don't cry,
Um,
because
it's
just
a
like breathing, that's something we're born doing. Do you know what I mean?
it's a real thing. That crying is a real thing.
Yeah.
Makes
And
you
then, like, even what's that?
It makes you feel a lot better. I'll tell you that.
It really does. It really does. Anyone who's listening, if you need to cry, go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
And then it's crazy too, because even anger has been shown to increase risk of autoimmune problems.
and
Yeah. So your body really stores all of this. And the longer you don't feel it, the longer it's hurting you.
mhm.
So, okay. How do you balance? I know you're super busy. How do you balance kind of basketball, professional athlete, basketball, and kind of relaxation and, having that balance of this is the sport, but I can also have a life and maintaining that sort of thing.
I think that's like a hard question to answer because I think as basketball players or like as athletes, you always get thought that it has to be about getting better all the time. And it is, but I think my view has changed on that in the sense of like, for me, getting better all the time was always being in the gym, always the weightlifting, always watching film, always doing this. That to a certain extent is true, but I feel like now I've realized that doing different things outside of life, like me connected with nature, me doing something that I like, will allow me to be better.
Yeah.
Like, because once you're in this circle of like, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that. There's so much pressure, so much like you just doing that, but you're not allowing yourself to develop. And I feel like when I go outside of that, and it's my day off, and I go explore middle of nowhere Iceland, and I go see a waterfall, I'm like, whoa, the energy I feel. Like I feel like I'm recharged. I feel like I'm recharged. I let everything that just happened or all the work that put in manifest itself into my body. I don't know, that sounds weird, but you gotta let your body get used to it. Because once you
Yeah.
go and there's gonna be a certain extent you're not gonna be able to see it.
Yeah.
And I feel like me as a professional athlete, I've learned to like sometimes less is more and go do some things that you like. Like for me, that's going outside in nature. For me, it's going to the sauna. And ironically, the sauna, I feel like it makes me better at basketball. And got nothing
Yeah.
to do with basketball. You know?
Yeah.
Um,
Because you rest your mind in there too. You were telling me you try your best not to think.
yeah. Try my best not to think. And then I guess it's also like in the sauna when it gets hot, it's also a battle of like, do I want to stay in or do I want to get out? And you
Yeah.
gotta be like, well, you gotta pick one.
Yeah.
And then I think I found things outside of basketball for the first time in my life that give me a lot of joy and that I can find an identity in. Because in college, I feel like my identity was just a basketball player. And I was loved for that. Like that's my dream. But now, like, I do a YouTube vlog, and I feel like, for me, in a sense, I'm a vlogger now. You know, like
Yeah.
it's basketball vlogs, but I'm a
Yeah.
vlogger now. You know,
Yeah.
so
And it's fun and creative. Creativity really helps with things. Yeah.
yeah, it gives me something else than just to watch basketball all the time. It gives me something that I can be creative. Like, how am I going to edit this video, put the music on the right time, spin it, give it a color grade that I want? It's something outside. Um, so I think just finding different identities has been good for me, because I feel
Yeah.
like once you lay your identity just in being a basketball player, is it's tricky. Because when you play good, you're gonna love yourself, but when you play bad, you're gonna be your worst enemy. And when you can find constant identities where basketball is just not the only thing that I feel like I can determine my success on, I feel like that gives me better chance to perform better on the court, because I'm not putting that much pressure on just that's my only identity, you know?
Right. Like there's other things in life and that you can get better by allowing.
Yeah. And then just getting out. And one thing I do balance wise is like getting out and just going to talk to people. I meet people and I'm like, let's go grab some food, or they'll have invite me over at their house. It's just that little things, man, like interactions that you meet throughout that you have, and the people that you meet throughout the years. That's really what fulfills me. Like, I love basketball, and I'm in pursuit of greatness. But for me, it's really been about the relationships I've made over the years, and that's honestly one of my biggest, like, my biggest, how would I say it, joys outside of basketball is meeting people, inspiring people, sharing moments with people. Like,
Yeah.
for example, here little kids hit me up and watch my YouTube vlog. Like, can you train me? What is your advice when you're really doing really good? And then what is your advice when you're doing really bad? And it's like I got a platform, and people value my opinion enough to help them with their career. You know, it's just not about me putting the ball in the hoop anymore. You know, they actually look up to me as a person and as a basketball player.
Yeah. And that's a great way also, I know, for you to be open about, first of all, emotions and then also what you do, because I think, I don't know if it's, commonplace, but as you mentioned, it's not mind body medicine's not, everyone doesn't know it, but I feel like if you had known it, and you can speak on this when you were young, it might have really changed things, in a sense.
Yeah,
What do you think?
yeah. Honestly, that's a dilemma I always have with myself. Is like, what if I would have the tools that I have now when I was a lot younger? Like, would my
Yeah.
career look different? With my career, where I be at a certain point, a certain different point, milestone. But honestly, I feel like God has given me that task of showing people that no matter what the mental battles you have or the adversity you have, there's always a solution. And I think meeting you, meeting other people that have helped me along the way is really giving me the ability to work through these hardships and find solutions, so other people that are in your same shoes know there's hope, like that you don't have to give it up, that you don't this feeling is not really what it's really about. Like, it's you supposed to feel a different way. And honestly, like, as of late, I've kind of changed the narrative of, like, instead of, how would I say it, instead of fighting these things or like feeling this way, I'm retraining my mind. Like, I really tell myself, it's like, when I feel this way, it's like, no, I'm retraining my mind, because it's been wired for so many years to think one way. So now I feel like at 24, I was like, let me retrain my mind from now to however long I play and see what it really is like. Instead of telling myself, oh, why do I feel anxious, or why do I feel this way, and why do I feel crappy after a bad game? How do I retrain my mind to see it differently? And I
Yeah.
think that was a task or a mission God has put in my way.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think one thing someone told me, first of all, I think everyone in the world can relate to, like, man, I wish I'd known this when I was younger.
Yeah.
But one thing what's that?
No, it's real though. It's real. I've been
It
thinking about.
really is. Yeah. And one thing my friend told me, you can tell me if you feel this way, is you really have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's where growth, like, you really have to be like, oh, this again, it's really uncomfortable, but
Yeah,
this is the test.
this is the test. It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and one other question. Before I give you a pop quiz, which
Uh,
I know, get ready. I didn't tell you ahead of time because I want to see how it goes.
well,
You'll
I hope I
you'll
got.
do well, don't worry. What?
I hope I got the right answers. I hope I got the right answers.
Tell me again. You said, what about the being comfortable with discomfort?
Yeah, I was like, I feel like, I mean, everybody says that it's kind of like corny, but it's really, I feel like I always have my biggest breakthroughs after the times I was the most uncomfortable. And it's just, that goes for life that way. You know, if you don't go through the suck, you don't really deserve the good, you know?
Yeah. And I think and I saw this a little bit in you initially, that I don't think people know that everyone goes through a super hard time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think, and you can tell me this because were your idols, or did you understand that every player has the same struggles typically?
I feel like growing up, I didn't really understand it, but like the older I get, yeah. And it hit me last week. I was in shooting at the gym, and there was a kid, and he like he like asked me to help him. Like he just like randomly asked me to help him. Can you put me through some drills? And I was like, yeah, I got you. And he's like, I was like, what do you struggle with? And he's like, well, this, and that. And I was like, why do you feel like you struggle with this? And he was like, I feel afraid. I can do it in practice really good, but in the games, I feel afraid. And I'm like, damn, like I felt the same way at his age. And I still feel the same way, but you got to realize that it's normal. It's like normal. It's like, but there's ways to combat it. Like you got to realize you're not going through it by yourself. And for
Yeah.
me, it's like, kid is like 12 years old. And I was feeling the same way then. And I still sometimes feel the same way. So you're not alone and it's normal.
What advice did you give him about the nervousness and how to handle that?
I was like, you gotta. I told him to get in his body. I was like, you gotta get in your body, and I also told him faith over fear. Like when you feel that fear, like you're afraid, you gotta remember all the things you've done to prepare for this moment, and all the things that you yeah, all the things you've done to prepare for this moment. Really, because faith is having believe that something good is going to happen, and fear is having believe something bad is going to happen. So
Yeah.
you just got to be it and just tell yourself faith versus fear, because I prepared for this moment. And ironically, he had a really
Yeah.
good workout, and I hope that helped him.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you use faith and fear, because you don't have to be religious to know that you're going to
Oh
be
yeah,
safe.
that's the thing. You don't have to be religious. Like it's just two words.
Yeah. And I read this really cool quote that was like, fear is like worshiping the problem.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. I never heard of that. I never heard of that. That's a good
So
one.
you can choose to have faith, like have your worship be that you're going to do it, or have your worship be a problem. So
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. And one quote I use with you a lot is that everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Yeah. You did.
Yeah.
I have it on my background.
Yeah. Oh, you do still? That's awesome.
I have it in one of my wallpapers. So
That's awesome. I like that you still have that. Okay, so this is kind of a funny question. What is the weirdest thing that I've suggested you do that you actually do? Like, do you do weird breath in public? Like, do you go stand on the grass in public? Or what do you do that's kind of like a weird thing?
I've
If
done the
it,
grounding in public, but I don't really necessarily think that's weird. That's kind of like a modern thing now.
yeah,
Uh, One time you touched me, you told me when I feel like I'm having bad energy, I think, or like I feel like it's just bad feelings,
yeah,
to touch the wood because it's
yeah.
natural.
Yeah,
And
it's like,
that's something I do. I just go put my hands on the wood, like on the floor, because it's wood. And I don't know, I did it like a couple times in the game. Ironically, it ended up working out.
yeah,
So
it's like grounding, but through your hands. Because when you have like
yeah,
rubber soles on, you're not getting that grounding feeling.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean I did it. I remember you told me that, and I did it like at the game after, and it actually worked out.
That's pretty awesome. I didn't know you did that literally during the game. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I did it.
You can pretend like you fall so that you can like get an extra bit of like ground time.
Fact,
So,
fact.
okay, ready for your quiz? Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. True or false about meta meditation? This is the HRV meditation you were talking about. You know this, but okay. True or false? Meta meditation can increase heart rate variability, which is a key marker of recovery and stress resilience.
True, true.
Yeah, you know that already. That was easy.
That was one, an easy one.
Obviously. Okay. True or false? Practicing meta meditation reduces cortisol levels, helping athletes manage stress more effectively.
True. Right?
True. There was a study in the Journal of Psychoneuroendocrinology that showed that. And I didn't say on the first one with the HRV, there's a 2013 study published in Psychological Science, which shows it increases vagal tone. Vagal tone is a parasympathetic nerve, which means if you're more toned, that means you can be more relaxed.
Okay,
Kind of
makes sense.
toned, ironically, like lifting weights. You're toning your
Yeah.
nervous system. Yeah. Okay. True or false? I'm just giving you all these easy ones. Meta meditation improves focus and sustained attention, which are critical for athletic performance.
True.
Exactly. Yep. There's a 2007 study showing that it enhances sustained attention and emotional regulation. Okay. True or false? Meta meditation is a spiritual practice and has no measurable physical benefits.
False.
Yes, exactly. 2000. I mean, we already said that, but there's also in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine in 2011, it showed measurable improvements in immune function, which is awesome.
Yeah.
People don't know that a lot. Your immune system is helped with different medications. Heart health, emotional well-being. Actual heart health. You know it helps with congestive heart failure?
I know that.
Yeah.
A lot of things that it helps with.
It's crazy. There's a giant list. Okay. We have, let's see, three more. Okay. True or false? Meta meditation has been shown to increase empathy and connection, which can enhance a team's dynamic in sports.
Yeah, that's true.
True. Have you seen that on the court?
A little bit at times. At times I feel like I can control the outcome of my team by my energy,
Yeah.
my demeanor, for sure.
Like when you're more positive. Okay.
Yeah.
2 more questions and then I'll let you go. I know you have plenty to do today.
You're good.
True or false? Meta meditation can reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression in athletes and non-athletes.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, true. These are very easy. I would be sad if you missed one of these.
I thought you were gonna test me harder than that.
I know. I should have tried harder. Yeah, there was a 2014 study in the Journal of American Internal Medicine journal. Sorry, that concluded that all these meditation practices can reduce anxiety, depression, and overall psychological distress. Okay. One more. True or false? Meta meditation improves resilience to negative feedback, which is beneficial for athletes handling pressure.
I don't know if we talked about this, but I want to say it's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very
Yeah, it's
touching.
true. So a 2015 study in mindfulness found that the loving kindness or meta meditation reduces emotional reactivity, making you and athletes more resilient to criticism and challenges. So all sorts of amazing benefits.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing for real.
It's really cool. All right. Well, thank you for your time, Steven. Do you have
Yeah.
any? Go ahead.
I was gonna say thank you for your time and for being you and everything you do. So
Well, thank you for you being you. Do you do the work? You work very hard on and off the court. So I'm really, I mean, you've made your benefits. I just make suggestions. So do you have any final piece of advice for anyone who wants to play basketball professionally?
my advice would be I've always lived by the work is undefeated. I think when you put in the work over a long amount of time and more than everybody else, you're always going to succeed. But also, I think we're in a different era where it's just not about physical work and it's more about mental work. So for any young athletes and aspiring, invest as much in your physical as you do in your mental, and it will work out for you. Keep going through this journey regardless of what people say, because It's not going to be easy. Honestly, for most people, the odds are stacked against them, but it's the one that really have the belief and true courage to keep going and make it. So just remember, there are going to be rainy days, there are going to be sunny days. You just got to keep waking up and pursuing it every day, and you'll make it. And if I can ever help with any questions, guidance, training, whatever it is, just hit me up on Instagram and I'll answer. I'll answer anything for you.
Yeah. And you're so nice with your time. You're always trying to help people. And I think that's awesome to have that. Also, something for people to admire in a professional athlete is being that way. Yeah.
The
All
way I was,
right. What's that?
the way I was raised. So I got a
Yeah.
lot of people. I was blessed that a lot of people wanted to help me, so I got to repay it.
Yeah. Perfect. I love that. Okay. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you for joining me. Have a good day. Have a fun practice. And we'll see you later.
You too.
Bye.